So simplifying when you are just simplifying or multiplying or dividing rational expressions, I find incredibly satisfying. Adding and subtracting is a little bit less so because we're dealing with fractions, and just like always with fractions, it's a little annoying to deal with them, okay? So let's recap really quick. How do you add two fractions together? So if I want to add 2/3 and 3/5, right? The first thing that you have to do is figure out what your common denominator is, right? Which in this case would be 15. So I would multiply this guy by 5 top and bottom. I'd multiply this guy by 3 top and bottom. So I'd have 10 over 15 plus 9 over 15. And that's where you get your answer from, right? Okay, so that wasn't too bad. All right. Also remember though, sometimes in this particular one, we just kind of multiplied them by each other, but you don't necessarily have to do that, okay? So say we were looking at 5/6 and we wanted to add that to 3/8, right? I could multiply this one top and bottom by 8 and this one top and bottom by 6. That would work, but there's a smaller common denominator of 24, right? Because 6 is 2 times 3 and 8 is 2 times 4. So since they already have that 2 in common, I can multiply this guy by 3 top and bottom and this guy by 4 top and bottom. And that will make them match at 24. Okay, and then we can add from there. Okay, so when you're looking for these, right, the key is you kind of break down your denominators into these factors, right? And anything that they already have in common, you don't have to multiply by. You just have to multiply by whatever else is left over, okay? And that is the same thing that we're going to do when we are multiplying these, okay? So to get common denominators here, I'm not going to multiply this one by 3xy and this one by 6x squared. That'd be a pain. All that I need to do is I need to multiply them until they get to the same thing. Okay, so what I'm kind of thinking in my head is I'm thinking, well, the first one is a 3, an x, and a y. The second one, 6 is 2 times 3, and then 2 x's, right? So they already have this part in common, and I just need to make them each have all the same factors. So this guy is missing the 2 and the x that this one has. So I'm going to multiply this guy by 2 and x. And this guy is missing the y that the other one had. So I'm going to multiply this guy by y. And once I do that, right, now this one will have a 2 and an x, and this one will have a y, and then everything's the same. Okay, so in the top then, I have 10x over 6x squared y. And over here, I'll have 7y over 6x squared y. See how those denominators worked out to be the same? And then I can go ahead and add across the top, leave the denominator the same, just like normal with fractions. Always do a quick check, see if there's a common factor that will cancel out, but in this case, there aren't any, so we are all set. All right, let's take a look at this guy. So again, what I'm kind of thinking to myself with the denominators is I'm thinking the first one is a 2, and then times an x, and then times a y. The second one, 4, is 2 times 2, and then there's a y, right? So they have those in common. The first one needs a 2 to make it be the same. The second one needs an x to make it be the same. Okay, and when we multiply these, you have to make sure you do a distributive property. So I'm going to distribute that 2, and I'm going to distribute the x, since we're multiplying two quantities. So that's 2x plus 6 over 4xy, and then minus x squared minus 2x over 4xy. All right, and then thing number 2, I'm subtracting. Make sure you subtract the whole thing. Okay, so when I'm gathering my like terms here, it's going to be a negative x squared. And then I'm going to have 2x minus negative 2x, aka 2x plus 2x. So that's 4x plus 6. Okay, so watch out for that. If it helps, distribute the negative, right? Change this to a plus, make that a negative, make that a positive, and then you can just add from there. So just watch out for that. That's something that trips people up sometimes. All right, this guy. So now we're looking at things that have some terms here. So what I want to do is I want to factor each of these separately. So this one factors to 2 times x minus 2, and this factors to 2 times x plus 5. Okay, so they have the 2 in common. So this guy is going to need to get multiplied by x plus 5 top and bottom. And this guy is going to need to get multiplied by x minus 2 top and bottom. Okay, distributive properties, that's going to be 5x plus 25. And my denominator is 2 times x plus 5 times x minus 2. Okay, this guy distributive, so 3x minus 6. And there's my same denominator. Doesn't matter what order the terms of your denominator are written in. You could have put the x minus 2 first. It doesn't make a difference. Okay, and then again, we're subtracting, so just make sure you keep subtracting. So 5x minus 3x is 2x. 25 minus negative 6 is 25 plus 6, so 31. Okay, and then there we go. Again, do a quick check for any common factors, but this doesn't factor at all, so it's not going to break down any further. Okay, this guy. So again, I'm going to start by factoring my denominator. This factors to x plus 3 times x minus 3, and this is 2 times x plus 3. Okay, so this guy has a 2 that this one doesn't. So I'm going to multiply this guy by 2 top and bottom. And then this guy, they have the x plus 3 in common, but this one's missing the x minus 3. So that needs an x minus 3 top and bottom. So that's going to be 8x over 2 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. And then plus 3x minus 9. Okay, combine our like terms. 8 plus 3 is 11x minus 9. Okay, so one more time, how did I figure out that common denominator? So thinking about it a different way, right? We factored this and we said it was x plus 3 times x minus 3 for the first one. And then the next one was 2 times x plus 3, right? So they had the x plus 3s in common. This one needed a 2 to make them line up. This one needed the x minus 3 to make them line up. Okay, so that part is a little bit hard for people sometimes to wrap their heads around, but once you get it, it isn't too bad. All right, so this guy, factoring this, 2 things that multiply to negative 4 and add to 3 would be positive 4 and negative 1. This guy, I'm going to do some scratch work. So 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. So 2 things that multiply to negative 3 and add to negative 2. Right? GCF each side. So that factors to 3x plus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, so they have the x minus 1s in common, right? This one needs a 3x plus 1. This one needs an x plus 4. All right, double distributive property here, right? I'm going to get 3x squared. Then I would have a plus 6x and a plus 1x. So plus 7x plus 2. My ginormous denominator. Okay, and then minus, this will be 2x minus, ooh, no, plus. Sorry, that's a plus sign. So 2x plus 8. And again, it doesn't matter your denominator, what order those 3 terms are written in. Anything is fine. All right, so then I got to do my subtraction. So it's going to be 3x squared. 7 minus 2 is positive 5x. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. All right, and this guy, I'm noticing that this might factor. So I just want to check and see, can I factor this? So 2 things that multiply to negative 18 and add to 5. Does anything multiply to negative 18 and add to 5? So 18 would be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. and that's it. And one of them would have to be negative. Do any of them add to 5? No. So that doesn't factor, so I don't have to worry about it. Excellent. One more to go. So this guy, I can start by factoring out the 4, and that leaves me with x squared minus 1. And then I can further factor that to x plus 1 times x minus 1. All right, and then this guy, this is another case where it's sort of backwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out a negative 1, and then I'm turning it around at the same time. Okay, so the 2 steps I did there, it was 1 minus x, so I turned it around to negative x plus 1. And then I factored out the negative. Okay, so they have the x minus 1 in common. This guy is going to need the negative 1. This guy is going to need the 4 and the x plus 1. Okay, so that's negative 7. Oh, and it's actually negative 4 on my denominator, right? And then plus here, so 4 times 4 is 16, and then I'm going to distribute that 16. So it'd be 16x plus 16. And then we combine some like terms. So 16x, 16 minus 7 would be 9. And there we go. Okay, so like I said, it's not as satisfying as like canceling a whole bunch of stuff out and making something really complicated, really simple. But it's really just going back to your fraction rules that you learned in like middle school. Okay, so as long as you're okay with making common denominators and stuff, you should be pretty okay. Again, watch out for these ones that kind of need to get turned around to be backwards. Okay, and just make sure that you're being careful with your details, like subtracting both terms, that kind of thing.